Painting for me begins with ideas, and one of the easiest ways to generate those is to think about the intimate touch or the direct mark making, the handwriting that comes naturally without thinking, and then through various mechanisms and techniques to enlarge or make the move from that intimate personal space into something more communal or that interfaces with other traditions. The works may appear to look different, but they are all united by my handwriting, so to say, by this gesture that unites them because it is my sensibility coming through. It's the possibilities and the limitlessness of painting itself that allows for this full breadth of expression. And that's what gives me energy to continue painting. I'm interested in challenging ideas of representation, such as self-portraiture, as being intimately linked to autobiography. I think women haven't been allowed the space to be purely imaginative and operate from a universal position. And I think that by combining the personal with more communal images, there's a space to reimagine the self. It can be quite surprising what motivates me to actually turn a feeling or a thought or an idea into an image. And it can be the word itself, examining my own drives. What motivates me to make a painting, what drives me, ends up becoming a painting of a car. Making posters is a big part of my practice, and it has always been. It started as wanting to take control over the elements around the exhibition, the context, where I believe there is a lot of space for content, and allowing the various motifs to be teased out and partially explained through different medium other than painting. Ceramics is really appealing to me for the fact that the surface involves a process that seals it off. And this is in contrast to the open, porous surface of painting. When this is fired, this will look completely different. And this will be these wild orange colors and browns, and these small crystals will all kind of blow up in the way you can see here. That painting with ceramics involves a lot of chance and the unknown, and to me this is super exciting and gives me a lot of energy to reapply more chance-based techniques in my other painting practice. I like the freedom of how a series can develop on its own over time. For example, the cabbage with the portrait in the corner or the nose-ass sculptures. These are things that did not set out to become sustained investigations, but over time they seem to develop a mind of their own, and they persist in offering new chances to see the same thing in a different way. I'm really excited and honored to be nominated for this year's shortlist, and it feels really great to be a part of the community that's building around the prize.
So I guess I'm interested in revisiting the practices of certain artists and designers who've maybe been marginalised or underrepresented in the canon of art and design. So I suppose a lot of the work is very heavily patterned. I'm really interested in early to mid 20th century women artists and designers, also women that were thinking about the domestic space as a creative space, thinking about the creative potential of what that space could be. So I suppose that's why I'm kind of drawn to that period in time. Alongside a studio practice, I also work a lot in learning environments. I suppose that's always been really important, working with people to look at materials in different ways and to think about how materials can change behaviour or how an environment can influence how we are together and how we behave together, how we act together. I often work collaboratively with people on projects, whether that's family, friends, makers, students, whether that's working with like master tapestry weavers or studio ceramicists or rush weavers. I'm really interested in the way that knowledge can be shared. Every project is really different and brings together networks of people in different ways. I think for me the works hold within them the social relations that have like brought them into being, and then they enter a different phase when they're exhibited or when they're used and experienced by a new group of people. Yeah, I feel totally surprised and amazed and really excited to be nominated for the prize. It totally came out of the blue, and I have a really strong interest in Italian design and the making practices that are alive and like thriving in Italy. So to be able to like think through that in more detail is really going to be really interesting, I think.
I make installations. I kind of create these sites that I see that could be potentially activated by performance, or they are sites for, I guess, where myth could exist as well. Like, I'm interested in world making as a feminist strategy, so a lot of my work revolves around scripts, texts, plays, and I build sites for these to exist within. They use a lot of architectural structures that get reimagined or broken down, but also a lot of body parts, and I guess they often think of the body as a dismantled site that exists on this installation or within these installations, really. I think there's something, completely magical and, for me, life-saving about being, like completely immersed in your practice. I never wanted it to be confessional, and it's always refracted through characters and refracted through, various mechanisms. It's not really about me again, it's about like these feminized kind of experiences.
We are the technology and we are the medium.
I think I've got a good inner eye, so I think I am able to see what, like when I imagine something, I do see it quite completely. The creative process for me is definitely seeing it and then figuring out how to make it, like seeing it in my mind and then figuring out how to make it. So I do have a very, very clear image in my head of what I want to do. I believe in ideas, really, more than what it's made of. Or I want the ideas to exist as far as I can with what I have. There's so many artists that I really profoundly respect that have been on the shortlist or who have won it before, so it's like amazing to be part of, in that company, really. It's completely life-affirming to me to be part of, that kind of tradition of artists, really.
The figure in the work, the figures are as women who are exploring spaces and they're sort of looking around for meaning, but they're faceless. And that's because in my mind, those figures are me. And they're not me as an external view. They're how I imagine myself from an internal view. And at the same time, if a viewer is looking at a figure and that figure doesn't have a face, that figure isn't a particular person, it's someone. And it's a bit like if you read a book and it was in the first person. You somehow inhabit that I of the storyteller. So I'm trying to set up a situation where it's like you're hearing other people's thoughts. And the other part is casting that that sort of personal narrative into a much broader kind of context, which is something like our relationship to technology, or our relationships to nature, say, or what it's like to be a citizen in a regenerating city. That's not only the interior, personal, emotive space, it's also how that sits within a kind of bigger set of structures. I think quite a lot about the audience and how they might receive the work. So I think about what it would be like for them to, say, read sections of text that I've written, or how they might interact with looking at the work. You know, the work is really a kind of thinking space. It's not like it can only be this or only that. It's like life. Lots of different things are around us. So pattern can convey a sense, an idea, a kind of atmosphere of something. And language, written text, can give you a direct message or ask you a question. But the things together add up to a sense of a kind of greater understanding of a subject or a narrative. Just to be considered is really encouraging. It's like, you know, your work becomes visible in some way and your voice is then heard. And I think that's a really amazing ethos of the award, that women's voices are heard. But in some way, it's like your voice becomes amplified because you have this opportunity. And that's really not only incredible, but it's really timely for me, because I've been a single parent for a long time, and I've been the sole provider for 2 other people. And this year, for the first time, I decided I'm going to focus completely on my own work. And I made that decision for myself this year. And then being shortlisted for this award happened just after I'd thought that, and it just felt like that tells me just keep going, and that, you know, it's really, really encouraging.
I work at the intersection of visual arts, contemporary music and contemporary performance to create live, often site-specific performance works and place-responsive audiovisual installations that involve film and sound, visual scores, which are often rooted in drawings. At the heart of my practice, I work with the voice and with gesture to explore the ways in which the body communicates beyond and before words, exploring the sounding body as a meeting point between self and the world. In the same way that my work sits between disciplines and between art forms, I'm really interested in the spaces in between, whether that's human and more than human, male and female, or ancient and contemporary. I'm interested in what I call mimesis, the imitation or emulation of the more than human world in traditional cultures. And this exploration of mimesis is a strand that runs through all of my work. I'm interested in where species meet, how I might be able to extend my body and my voice to meet another species, or how I can extend my voice to explore gender fluidity. The thing that I'm interested in within a gallery context, within audiovisual work, is playing with time, where a performance has a beginning and an end. I'm interested in the loop that can be played with within installation context. And what that means in terms of the meaning, whether that's the life cycle of a river or the perpetual loop of appropriated behaviour of some stag hybrid man world. I'm really excited by the possibilities that this prize offers. As somebody who works slowly with a rigorous research practice, the opportunity to spend 6 months going into deep research of a place is incredible and very rare in these precarious times. And it's also an honour to be shortlisted alongside 4 other women who are asking really important questions and making innovative work today.